And we are live here at the NFT Expoverse, back at our favorite spot here, the Smugglingverse. They have a wonderful booth right here, great group of guys as well, and putting together something really cool and really historic. Speaking of that, I have with me here Bruce Perlowin. He is known as the biggest, or one of the biggest smugglers, marijuana smugglers from the early days. So he's going to tell us a little bit about that and what he's doing here at the Smugglingverse. So tell me, Bruce, real honor to have you on here. A little bit about how you got involved with Smugglingverse.
Okay, thank you. Well, the backstory is in the 70s and 80s, I was the largest marijuana smuggler in West Coast history, and the media dubbed me the King of Pot. For being the King of Pot, I got to spend 9 years in federal prison. I was in co-ed prison, so my best friends are spies, assassins, terrorists, hijackers, jewel thieves, bank robbers, and that's just the females. So I walked around literally holding hands with a Russian spy.
Wow.
Svetlana. Anyway, so Todd is making a movie on my life, and I gave the rights to my movie to him because he's my first cousin. He grew up with me. I was a non-violent marijuana smuggler, a hippie smuggler, and I had no violence. He knew that. Yep. He smoked his first marijuana. I gave it to him, got him high for the first time. He stayed at my house in Ukiah. I spent $3 million in 1980 building this beautiful fortress. It wasn't really a fortress, it was an estate. And he stayed there one whole summer. He completely wrecked the place. He snitched himself out later. I destroy your DVD and all this stuff because I wasn't around. So he knew the true story. He knew that I was nonviolent. He knew my personality. He knows that he knows that I want to change the world. He knows that I want to build eco villages and I donate to nonprofits. So I gave him the rights. So he starts doing the movie. Todd then comes up with the Smugglingverse with him and Billy, his partner, and Will. So the three of them designed the Smugglingverse. I love the concept. I get to smuggle again, all over again, totally legal. So we're smuggling digital marijuana into the metaverse. It's a gorgeous metaverse that they've built.
Yep.
And I'm getting all my old smuggling buddies from back in the day. They call us the OGs, right?
Right,
the original gangsters.
Yeah.
We weren't gangsters. We were nonviolent hippie smugglers. And they're all joining us in the metaverse to smuggle marijuana into the metaverse.
It's really cool, guys. I mean, I see a lot of different projects, probably more than anybody, or at least as much as anybody. And it's a really cool project. It was a really great team. And it's interesting to have rich history like yours, you know? So he smuggled $1 billion, the King of Pot, smuggled $1 billion under the Golden Gate Bridge, made $100 million in his 20s. Yeah. What was it like to make so much money?
Well, you're like a kid in a candy store, okay?
Right.
First of all, we had certain things, like I had a motorhome on top of Skyline Boulevard with $1 million of electronic equipment on it. I tracked every single Coast Guard boat and fishing boat in 800,000 square miles of the Pacific Basin. I knew who the DEA was following. I knew who they were doing sting operations on. We had all their frequencies in a bank of scanners, and we would listen to them to make sure that they weren't watching us, right? So that was one thing, counterintelligence. Laundering money. You think it's fun to make a lot of money, it's a pain in the ass to launder it all over the world. So I had accounts in Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, Belize, Panama, Bahamas. So that was a full-time job. Fake ID, another division of my company. And we had a team that did nothing but get death certificates. From the death certificate, you get the birth certificate. With the birth certificate, you get the Social Security card. And then you go get, bank accounts and driver's license. So that you had a whole team doing all those things, always building, getting more boats, more offloading spots. As the newspaper said, I had a fleet of boats larger than most countries' navies, which was true. And so it's just a lot of fun. You're always building the business. You're always getting bigger and bigger and bigger, doing more and more loads.
Right.
We go from 30,000 pounds on a boatload to 60,000 pounds. We start bringing it in from Thailand instead of just Colombia. And it was a lot of fun.
I'm sure it was a lot of fun, and you seem like a fun guy, and you're going to continue having this fun. So that is awesome. I think we'll be a part of it as well, which is really cool. So you're this young guy. You've made all this money. You have this complex system of tracking everything. What happened? How did you end up going down?
right, so I had a group laundering my money in Florida, and I had partners, Fred and Ned Shore out of Ann Arbor, who later everybody called them the Deal and Squeal brothers. So they got busted, the laundering guys, and on a different case, and they rolled over on me.
I see.
Then Fred and Ned got busted, and they rolled over on me.
I see.
So they never caught us red-handed,
Right.
but they just start talking. So people start telling them what you did, and that was enough. In the beginning of smuggling, they had to catch you red-handed.
Right.
Later, I could just say, I was with him, and he bought 50 pounds from me, and somebody else says, yeah, he bought 50 pounds from Bruce, and you go to jail for buying 50 pounds. So it was all people rolling over and cooperating. I would not cooperate.
Right.
I refused to testify. I could have walked out of prison, never did a day in prison. My $3 million home, which I spent building in $1980.
Right.
And, but I did 9 years. I wouldn't tell. My girlfriend said, your son's going to grow up without you. And I said, that does not give me the right to have 100 sons grow up without their 100 fathers.
Wow.
So I kept my mouth shut, and I went to prison. And I ended up buying my house back anyways, 40 years later. And that's where the movie's going to be made.
And that's where the movie's going to be made, which is so cool. And you're talking about, we were just having a great conversation off camera about doing it all over again now legally, bringing in a big shipment through Colombia. Talk to us a little bit about that.
All right, so the Smugglingverse is the same exact thing. It's real life smuggling. Right? You can buy a joint, you can buy a kilo, you can buy a pound. And I just presented the possibility of taking one of those joints that you buy and trading it in for a real pound of marijuana. Now, of course, with the NFTs, the value goes way up, like with those monkeys and everything else. Right?
This is not financial advice.
However, you can, I'm learning all this stuff. I don't know the disclaimers, okay? So we do CBD and hemp Inc. because I was the CEO. I'm the CVC of hemp Inc. So I know you're not allowed to make medical claims, so we can't do financial claims here.
Exactly.
And we're not saying this is going to happen. But what would be likely to happen is that you can trade a digital joint, for a pound of marijuana.
Wow.
Economically, that happens to work in today's world with the collapsing marijuana prices.
Yeah.
So the marijuana pound is $500 a pound. A joint is very inexpensive digitally.
Yeah.
You can get a pound of marijuana. Now we haven't set that in stone. I just presented that to this thing because economically it works. Now, what we want to do, I'm doing a new public company called Marijuana Inc. I did Hemp Inc. My partner did Marijuana Company of America, 7 others. 13 years later, we're working together in Marijuana Inc. I want to bring a flotilla of boats down to Colombia because they're now making the export laws that you can export marijuana. The new president's doing that. We have Rocky down there right now. He was the owner of a thing called the Night Train. It was a giant freighter in the old days. We would put 1 million pounds on it. We'd go up and down the East Coast, and we hit it from Key West all the way up from Georgia, all the way up to Maine, and then you turn around, they go back. It was like a legendary ship, and finally the Dauntless, a U.S. Coast Guard cutter, caught it after 2.5 years of trying to find it. So Rocky's down there now. So it's Don Steinberg, the largest marijuana smuggler in history. The book The Underground Empire is written about him. Bruce Perlowin, the largest marijuana smuggler in West Coast history. We've been partners in 3 or 4 companies. And Rocky down there getting all the original strains. Punta Rojo, which is Red Bud, Santa Marta Gold, Colombian Gold, Panama Red, all the original landrace strains, which are great strains. And now, instead of me having to fly the Punta Rojo over 3 mountain ranges like I used to do in the old days and dropping onto the beach and have the whole villagers gather it and store it, then our boat would be in Costa Rica waiting, dip down and bring it up back under the Golden Bridge. They're just finishing a freeway from Cali, Colombia, to the coast so we can drive it down the marijuana. Once they finish up their legal laws, Rocky is working with 3 we're working with 3 different growing operations down in Colombia right now. And we'll bring those to the West Coast. And I want to bring a flotilla of boats down, just like I used to, same routes, load up, come back, come underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, go to the Coast Guard station, clear customs, have the first legal smuggle in history.
There you go.
That 1 million pounds, which may only be 100,000, but it'll probably be 1 million because I think big. And they'll definitely have it. And we just have to make sure that we can import, and those laws are coming to import from America. It's all changing. So, as visionaries, we see where the future's going.
Right.
Right? And then you trade your joint for a pound of marijuana. The economics work, the sizzle works, the fun works, the history works, history repeating itself. It was illegal when we did it the first time. We all went to jail. We're all going to do it the second time. We're all out of jail now.
Yeah.
And do it legally and have a first legal smuggles in history.
Well, it's really cool, guys, and they do have an NFT drop that's going on right here at the NFT Expo-verse. I'm looking at the screen right here. For $175, you get one of those joints, just to give you kind of an idea of how it is. You can also create different strains in the Smugglingverse. It's really something cool. I think that the sky's the limit for you guys. I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll be involved. Bruce.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Bruce.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Wait, is this the Bruce and Bruce show?
This is the Bruce and Bruce show. It's just the first time. We're going to be back broadcasting from the Smugglingverse.